We are live. Alright, hey everybody. Hope y'all can see me okay. I'm not sure if you guys can see me okay or not. Hold on. I'll move up a little bit with it. There we go. There's that one. Alright, we're going to be reading the book, The Slightest Edge. And I gotta check everything one more time. I just touched the screen. And sometimes when you touch the screen, I do an oopsie when touching the screen. So I did not mean to do an oopsie on that. And I also did not mean to get it in the way of my other one. Okay, we are good. Good across the board. 55 seconds in. Alright. So, hey everybody. This is, I am Jeffrey Jansen. Hope y'all having a great day. I don't do as many lives as I used to do. A lot of stuff going on. I'm helping a lot of people. And usually I'd be doing business right now. Yes, it's Sunday, but I work on Sundays. Because I'm building a team all over the United States. And when you build, you got to go with what you need to do. So, religion, family, friends, they come first, of course, and work and everything else. But so does each and every one of you. And I have had several people contact me about suicide awareness, and stuff like that. First off, on Instagram, for all those scammers out there that think it's funny saying, no, I'm a Marine. I was a 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. I am an 0311. I actually joined the United States military in 1996, and I went all the way up till 2008. So do the math yourself. And so today, there's a couple things I want to read, and I used to read every month and every week or whatever, and actually every day. I do poems, still do. It's just I try to put them on every once in a while. I try not to overwhelm everybody. I know you guys have a lot of other things to look at. But this is called The Winner's Creed, okay? And the reason why I've been reading The Winner's Creed ever since I was a boy, and there's a lot of people that need to hear it. There's a lot of my friends, family, everything out there, people I love, people that don't know it. And A Winner's Creed, it's got an unknown author. I didn't write it. It's an unknown author. I have written poems and I've written quotes before, but as far as The Winner's Creed goes, it's not mine. But I always feel that it's very important. So I want to read this to you. And if not, you can go to my Facebook page and take a look at it. And it goes like this. Winner's Creed. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you don't, let me start over, please. Please start over, sorry. A Winner's Creed. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out in the world, we find success begins with a person's faith. It's all in the state of mind. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster at hand. They go to one who trusts in God and always thinks, I can. Now think about that for a minute. If you go into anything thinking I can't do this, you won't. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. When I used to wrestle, and when I first started wrestling, I went in there thinking I could do it, and I did. I did a good job at it. But then as you work out and everything else, and you see people, get beaten, or you go up against somebody stronger, you start having less faith in yourself unless you have people around you. Now, I had a great team. There's a lot of great people that were on my wrestling team. And I'm forever grateful for each and every one of them. In fact, I don't have anything bad to say about any of them. They were all really great people. And we always encouraged each other. But there were times where I went in and I'm thinking, I'm not going to beat this guy. And I would lose. Why did I lose? Because I went in thinking I can't beat him. The thing about it is I go against somebody stronger, and I knew I practiced hard and harder, and I knew I ran farther, and I went to the workouts, I did the summer camps and everything else, and I'd go in and then I'd win. It's all a state of mind. But I did it with God on my side. We lose friends and family members to old age, to suicide, to cancers, to muscular dystrophy, to you name it. We lose them all. And it makes us question our faith in ourselves, in our religion, and our faith, and our God, and everything else. And that's okay. And it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be out there in the world and pushing yourself and feeling like you don't have it. You do have it, but you got to find that thing inside. You got to have faith in yourself, faith in God, faith in your people around you. Everybody was like, Jeff, you've been beaten up so many times. You've been pushed down. I've had people say, why are you still alive? Why have you not killed yourself with everything you've gone through? Of course, I look at those people like they're freaking bat crazy, because that's not me. But I tell them, because even at your worst, there's always something positive you can find. There's always something more you can do. Because when you hit rock bottom, sometimes you have to look at rock bottom like, oh, I got a new launching platform. Because you're not following anymore. You're on the bottom. So now you got something to lift up from. You got something to build from. You got something to keep climbing from. And as somebody used to always tell me in life, well, how can you save others? Well, you got to have faith in yourself, because you got to save yourself before you can save anybody else. And I know there's people out there that are going through depression and a hard time and everything else, and that's the reason why we read these books. Now, today, these are, for success manuals, success books, to make sure you have true success and that you do the right thing for the right reason in the right way. But you always need to make sure to take care of yourself, too. If you don't take care of yourself, you're no good to anybody else, okay? As one quote goes, a ship is safe in port, but that's not what ships are built for. Okay, or sorry, ships are safe in harbor, but they're not made to sit in a harbor, are they? They're made to go out into the world and conquer it. They're made to go and haul goods, deliver stuff, fight battles, and you're that ship. And if you just sit in the harbor all day and you just think what might have been, what shoulda, coulda, woulda, you're going to belong to that shoulda, woulda, coulda club. We're coming up to the Marine Corps birthday here pretty soon. I always say we're coming up to the shoulda, coulda, woulda time. Oh, I should have joined the Marine Corps. I could have joined the Marine Corps. I would have joined the Marine Corps. I joined another branch, or I didn't get in, or I had flat feet, or I had... Did you know you can get what's called a chit? C-H-I-T-T. You can get a chit and going into the military and have those discrepancies waived. But if you don't want it enough, then you don't know you can do that. If you don't want to do something enough, you go in and you're already counting yourself out. You've already failed. If I joined the military and I went in thinking I can't do this, I wouldn't have been able to. I would have quit. I would have given up. I would have went into the recruiter's office and said, never mind. So many people, they go into business and they fail. Why? Because as they get in there, it gets hard. The struggle is real. You got to know that it's hard. And they fail. Why do they fail? Why is there an 80% failure rate in the entertainment business, meaning food, bars, nightclubs, stuff like that? It's because people go into it and it gets so hard the first year that they just give up. They fail. They'd rather go work for somebody else. Somebody else has already been to the struggle. That person was ready to fail at one time, but they chose to keep going, to keep pushing forward, to try new things. And remember, in order to succeed, you always have to keep adapting, overcoming, trying something new. But always be polite, always be courteous, always be there for others, okay? Now, that being said, let's go ahead and get started with today. Now, this is the book we're reading, okay? Now, Have already read this book, so when I'm done with this book, I'll send this to somebody that wants it and somebody that'll read it. And all I do is what I do with my books, okay? I have copies. Now, I didn't write this book. This book was written by Jeff Olson. Great author, great person. Just like when I read books by like Brian Carruthers or Grant Cardone or somebody like that. Great people that know exactly what they're doing. I pass it on to the next person. Now they can go buy their own copy and then send off that copy they buy to somebody else. Because we're trying to help others. Now, does everything in this book mean you have to do it? No. Does this mean this is a guide to happiness and it's gonna... No, there's no such thing. If you don't put forth the effort that we talk about in these books, if you don't put forth, that, I've got to go out there and challenge myself every day mentality, then how are you ever going to get ahead? You can't just read something like, I'm successful because I read. No, you have to practice. Just like whenever I talk to you guys about all this stuff I tell you about, I practice what I preach. I make sure to let you know that anything that I tell you to do, I myself have gone and done it, or I am doing it, or I have already failed at it, and then I've had success with it. That's how you keep pushing forward. And one day, I hope, those that I love the most, and those, my family and friends, if the day that I'm gone one day, they'll look back and see that, you know what? When I did these, I was doing them during my climb. And I'm doing these during my fall. Yes, I fall all the time. I'm showing them to ignore the Karens of the world, the naysayers, the gossips, the person like, well, I heard this. If you heard anything, it's hearsay. Ignore the rumors. Ignore the gossip. Ignore those that think they know everything and they know for a fact. They don't. And you know all they're doing? Those are the people you need to get away from. You need to go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Get around those that love you and care for you. They may not always understand you, but they're always going to push you. And sometimes the biggest bullies in our life are our own family and friends. Even though we love them, we care about them, they're just doing it because they're protective. And even those people you got to get away from sometimes. You can come back to them with success. So let's go ahead and get started with part one. How the slight edge works. The beach bomb and the millionaire. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Let me read that again. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. If you decide to be a slob, you're going to be a slob. If you decide to be successful and know what it takes and you have to keep, pushing yourself every day, you'll become successful. Okay? I want to tell you about two friends I've known since I was a kid. Guys from my old neighborhood in New Mexico. These two characters grew up together, went to school together, graduated together, roomed in college together. They were both pretty personable guys, and I got along with both of them. They had identical childhoods, though, and by high school they had both earned reputations as mischief makers. Still, they both had more than enough drive and ambition to make up for whatever strikes they had against them. When you add it all up, in terms of their skills and potential, I would say they were evenly matched. In fact, they were almost identical in every way. Every way except one, which was the different paths they took and where they led. The first friend dropped out of college and moved from New Mexico to Daytona Beach, Florida, the spring break capital of the world, where he became a beach bum, lifted weights, chased girls, and let his blonde hair grow long and curly. People started calling him Gorgeous George, after the WWE wrestler who brought pro wrestling into America's living rooms. My friend was pretty popular, in a big fish in a small pond way, but he was a beach bum, cutting golf greens to make ends meet, sweating in the sun while he lugged around bags of golf clubs. For the wealthy, frustrated and unhappy, he eventually left Daytona Beach and went back to New Mexico, where he went into business for himself. And what happened? The business failed, and Gorgeous George lost everything. Then there was my other friend, Gorgeous George Buddy. As an adult, this guy led a charmed life. Graduating from college as an A student, he went on to business school and graduated at the top of his class. Then he got recruited by a gigantic tech firm, built a stellar resume, and went on to create a string of entrepreneurial ventures, each one more successful than the last. Today, his life is rich in every way. He has a beautiful, amazing daughter, thousands of friends around the world, runs a record-breaking successful business company, and is happy beyond measure. Yet he still stays in touch with the childhood friend, the beach bum. In fact, they stay in very close touch. I often think about these two guys because I know that I could have been either one of them. Matter of fact, I was, because here's the one piece of the story I left out. The reason those two guys were roommates all those years, and the reason they are still in constant contact today, is they are one and the same person. They're both me. That college dropout who became a frustrated beach bum, who eventually took his shot at business but bottomed out there too. That was yours truly. The straight A college graduate who went on to create one business success after another, who became a millionaire with a fabulous family, friends, and all over the world, and richly, happily fulfilled his life, guilty as charged. I've been blessed with a lot of success in my life, but I sure didn't start out that way. I started out as Gorgeous George, the college dropout, golf green cutter, and I tell you a secret, I'm the same person today that I was then. Not that I haven't changed a lot through my experiences. We all do that. What I mean is, deep down inside, I'm really no different than I was then. It's not as if I had any sort of lightning strike overnight transformation. I did not go to a mountaintop, did not experience enlightenment, and I did not have a near-death experience that showed me the truth of the universal brotherhood. Although I did go through some pretty terrible failures that at times sure felt like near-death experiences. I didn't change who I was as much as I did change what I did. I didn't change who I am because no matter what the gurus and the therapists might tell you, I don't believe any of us can really do that. I mean, we are who we are. The kid who became a frustrated beach bum was never anything but average. Average at schoolwork, average at sports, average in social skills. The incredibly fortunate and deeply happy man I am today is still that average kid. No more, no less. I say that without an ounce of false modesty. The only reason I've made the transformation from there to here is that somewhere along the way, I've had the good fortune of being exposed to the slight edge. How I got from there to here, and how you can get from where you are to wherever you want to be, is what this book is about. My day of disgust. The transition from the beach bum to millionaire did not happen overnight. It was long, slow, and sometimes painful. Roller coaster process, because frankly, I didn't know what I was going to do and not what I was doing. I didn't yet have the key you're getting in this book. I didn't know about the slight edge. I was working it out by trial and error, lots of error. I was born and raised in Albuquerque. My dad died when my dad died when my brother, sister, and I were just kids, and somehow my mom held everything together. She was a terrific mom, a loving and constant presence in our lives. But it was still a rough way to grow up. As a fatherless and blonde-headed kid in a Hispanic neighborhood where he didn't fit in, I didn't know what to do with it all. So I channeled my energy into mischief and misbehavior. A few years before my dad died, when I was in the 3rd grade, my teachers had informed my mom that I had a low IQ. Now I started proving the point. I pretty quickly had gained that mischief maker reputation. While my mom worked her way through the years, I struggled my way through school. By age 18, it was clear to everyone who knew me that I didn't have much of a future. I begged my way into the University of New Mexico. At college, I built upon the previous academic career and succeeded in taking my C average down to a D average. I did learn one thing, though. I learned that when spring break came, all the students went out east to Daytona Beach for a week to party hard. I thought I could do them one better. I quit school altogether and moved there. In Daytona Beach, I pursued my first calling as the beach bum with the long curly locks, to make ends meet, if you call it that. I took a job at the Orlando Country Club cutting the golf course grass. One day I was cutting the green under the scorching Florida sun. I paused to watch the wealthy club members playing golf all over the porcelain smith grass I had just cut. Watching them hum to and fro in the zippy golf carts, in their dapper golf outfits, with their classy golf bags full of expensive golf clubs, I felt a burning question simmer inside. Why is it that they're over there riding in carts and I'm here working? I don't get it. How come they were over there putting while I was over here cutting? Hey, I was as good as these people were. Why did they get to have it in 10 times, 20 times better than me? Were they 20 times better than me? Were they 20 times smarter? Or did they work 20 times harder? I didn't think so. I felt like there was something going on here that I should get. Something that ought to be crystal clear. But for me, was it clear as mud. It all just seemed so unfair. For whatever reason, as happy in so many people's lives, I found myself staring squarely at a fork in the road. A point I now refer to as my day of disgust. That moment of impact where sometimes hit in our lives when we come smack face to face with our circumstances and without having a clue to what or how of it, make a decision to change. In that instant, standing there sweltering in the brutal Florida heat, I came to just a moment of decision. I suddenly knew that I had it up to here with where I was, and I was something. Something clicked. The tumblers in the lock fell into place, and I knew that I could never go back to where I'd been only moments earlier. I knew that for things to be different, I had to do something different. I had found one piece of the puzzle, only a piece, and not nearly enough to find my way to a genuine lasting success, but enough to get started in the path of pursuit. The superachiever. On the heels of the day of disgust, empathy, I walked away from the golf course, loaded my steering clothes into my 1964 Dodge Dart, slant six, all my possessions fit easily in the back seat with the room left over for a passenger, and I took off for Albuquerque. The car kept overheating so bad that it took me 6 days just to get to Texas. It was the longest trip of my life, and not just because of the crappy car, but because of the distance I traveled in my heart and soul. When I arrived in New Mexico, I had resolved that I was going to forever leave behind the land of mediocrity and start inhabiting the world of high achievement. I was going to pour it on, go all go all 8 cylinders. Okay, for the moment that would be all 6 cylinders, and do whatever it took for my life ahead. As I said, all my life I had been, no matter that, average or anything. I'd done average grades, average in athletics, average social skills. I knew that the only way I could ever become anybody was by working harder and being more persistent. If I wanted to have a prayer of a chance of getting on the team, I had to work harder in the practices. If I wanted to impress somebody in the social world, I had to work harder at it. If I wanted to get good grades, I would have to study harder. So I did. That semester, for the first time in my life, I got straight A's. I went on to business school and graduated in the top of my class, and the rest of you could say was history. Except that it wasn't. I didn't know it yet, but just working harder doesn't do it. If I did, then everybody who works hard would have made it. All you have to do is look around you and you can see that this isn't the case. The world is choked full of people who are working their butts off and still getting their butts kicked by circumstances. I was about to find this out. Fresh out of college, I went to work at the Albuquerque International Airport, where I continued to pour it on and work my tail off. In what seemed like no time at all, I had become one of the youngest international airport managers in the country. I was such hot management material that I was recruited away from the airport by the Dallas-based tech giant Texas Instruments, where I worked for the next 5 years and advanced to the management level as a management in the company's intellectual systems division. But corporate America wasn't for me. There was a lot of politics, which I hated, and it didn't feel like I yet found that place where I belonged. And I was clearly on a super achieving roll, right? Honestly, it felt like I could accomplish anything I put my mind to. Like I'd learned that magic word, found the secret formula. So, I struck out on my own and set my foot on the entrepreneurial path. Moving back to Albuquerque again, I started a solar energy company. I knew nothing about solar energy. I barely knew whether the sun came up in the east or in the west. East, it turns out. But with 400 solar panels in the state, New Mexico was the capital of the budding new industry. So ignorance or not, the smart course of action seemed clear. And at first, it looked like I had indeed made a very smart decision. Within 2 years, my company is one of the top in the nation. And before long, we became one of the largest solar energy companies in America. I was thrilled, on top of the world. What I didn't yet know was that nothing ever stays the same. Everything is in motion. Always, everything changes, and that was what happened next. Times changed, tax laws changed, our industry was hit hard. Before I knew what was happening, my company had collapsed, and I had lost everything, gone back to zero and below, owing more money than I could ever even hope to make again. I couldn't believe it. My super achievements had turned to dust right before my eyes. My millionaire life had evaporated, leaving me right back to the beach bum land, the guy with nothing. They even took my car. My night of despair. The night my car was towed away, I sat there despondent and disbelief. Years earlier, as a failed college student, I'd had my day of disgust. Now the other shoe had dropped, and as I failed an entrepreneur, I just arrived at my night of despair. I could not comprehend what had just happened to me. After living as a failure all my life, one day I awoke and came to my sense. Went back to college, applied myself like crazy, entered the bottom and graduated at the top. Worked for a major company for 5 and went on to the very top there. Built my company in less than 5 years and went to the top there. I built myself from a failure into a success. And now, after 14 long years of upward travel, I'd somehow arrived back at the bottom. I was more broke than I'd been when I was Gorgeous George, strutting it on the beach in his cutoffs. 20 years of blood and guts, and for what? I just could not wrap my head around it. I couldn't see the justice or even the logic of it, of any of it. I felt like that teenager again, confused and angry at the world where nothing made sense. Was life just inherently unfair, with no rhyme or reason to it? I was there, no point even trying. That was when I began to examine more carefully what had happened in my life. This time, it was no empathy. This time, it was like the moment on the Orlando golf course. There was no switch I could throw in my life, no sudden resolution to make things better. I'd already done that. Been look at where it got me. No, this time I needed to sit down and start carefully and methodically, systematically sorting through the mixed up pieces of my shattered life. There had to be some logic here, and I had to find it. So let's see. I had been to college, I had been a college dropout, a beach bum, a complete financial failure, and I had also been a straight A student, top corporate manager, super achieving entrepreneur, and a cutting edge injury, and a complete financial success. And all those had been the same person. So what was the difference? It made no sense. Or did it? The more I looked at it, the more it seemed to me that this is the roller coaster was not a matter of bad luck or a fluke of circumstance. It couldn't be. There was something about what I was doing that wasn't working. But on the other hand, there had obviously been times when what I was doing had totally worked. So what was the difference? For the first time, I began to see the over the years of my career, I had gone through a sequence of experiences that held the secrets to success as well as failure. I began to see that the seeds of both beach bum and millionaire lay in the simple actions I took every day. Escaping the curse of the roller coaster. Up to the point I knew I was average. If I had continued accepting that at a simple... start over. Up at that point I knew I was average. If I had continued accepting that as simply the way that things were, then nothing much in my life would have turned out for me. The shift in my life began happening when I stopped taking it for granted. That just because I was average guy, that meant I was doomed, no more than the average results. I now started questioning whether this was true. I began doing a systematic review of my life and taking a very close look at my actions and the results. Here's what I saw. When people are looking down the barrel of failure in their lives, they will do whatever it takes to get themselves moving. Something, anything, to start climbing upward toward that point of survival. And then, once they get to the point where they were keeping their heads above the water, they start heading back down again. As they start getting close enough to the failure line that they can see is coming, they go, whoops, I headed towards failure, and they do whatever it takes to turn that trajectory around and start heading back up. And the cycle repeats. Success, survival, failure. That's what I've been doing. And all that's what so many people do, living their entire lives like this, oscillating between failure and survival, striving towards success, and maybe even reaching the level of success. But then invariably turning back and heading downward again. We do this in our finances, in our health, in our relationships, in our lives as a whole. Why? Well, you could say it's because we sabotage ourselves for all kinds of reasons. I bet you most of us have all sabotaged ourselves at some time. Our father was mean to us, so now we're mean to ourselves. We're conflicted because society sends us mixed messages. We've fallen into a pattern of self-sabotage because for some reason we don't feel we deserve success. And you know, maybe some of those things are true for you. Heck, maybe they're all true. I have no idea, and truthfully, I don't really care because none of that matters. The truth is, whatever other factors may or may not be there, the only reason we keep following this roller coaster of almost success and near failure, this sense wave of mediocrity, this curse of average, is that we're missing one simple point. That was the point I stumbled upon. As I began examining my success and failure, what I gradually realized was that the very same activities that had rescued me from failure, that had carried me from the failure line up to the survival line, would also rescue me from the average and carry me from the survival line to the success line. If I would just keep doing them. And that was exactly the point. That was exactly what I wasn't doing. Once I got a little away above survival and was starting to head up into the warmer waters of success without realizing it or thinking about it, I would stop doing the things that had gotten me there. Naturally, I would then start sinking back down again. Back down toward the survival and beyond. Back down toward the failure line. And I did that every time. Every time. That's the only reason why our lives follow that roller coaster. It's that simple. As soon as we get away from the failure and up past the line of survival, we quit doing the things that got us there. You know what I mean? It means you already know how to do everything it takes to make you an outrageous success. That's how you've survived up to this point. And if you can survive, then you can succeed. You don't need to do some brilliant, impossible thing. You don't need to learn some insanely difficult skill or have some genius level brainstorm of an innovation idea. All you have to do is keep doing the things that you got you this far. which is exactly what 99.9% of the people don't do. What those things are, why most people don't do them, and how you can live an outrageously happy and successful life by doing them, is what this book is all about. I began to realize that there was a profound success secret hidden within the roller coaster. If we would just keep doing the things that got us from failure to up to survival in the first place, the things we already know how to do and already are doing, they would eventually carry us all the way to success. What exactly are those things? What are the actions that move us upward on the curve, and what are the actions that drive us down? I'll tell you what they are in a single word: simple. The things that take you out of failure up towards survival and success are simple. So simple, in fact, that it's easy to overlook them. Extremely easy to overlook them. It's easy to overlook them because when you look at them, they seem insignificant. They're not big, sweeping things that take huge effort. They're not heroic or dramatic. Mostly, they're just little things you do every day and that nobody else even notices. They're the things that are so simple to do, yet successful people actually do them, while unsuccessful people only look at them and don't take action. Things like taking a few dollars out of your paycheck, putting it into a savings and leaving it there, or doing a few minutes of exercise every day and not skipping it, or reading 10 pages of an inspired, educational, life-changing book every day, or taking a moment to tell someone how much you appreciate them and doing that constantly, every day for months and years. Little things that seem insignificant in the doing, yet when compounded over time, yield very big results. You could call these little virtues or success habits. I call them simply daily disciplines, simply productive actions repeated constantly over time. That, in a nutshell, is the slight edge. Beach bum or millionaire? The reason I'm telling you the story of the beach bum and the millionaire is that it's not the only story in my life. It's the story of your life too. You have both a beach bum and a millionaire inside you. A potential failure and a potential success. We all do. What makes the difference in how things turn out? Actually, you do. The truth is you have a complete control over the direction that the rest of your life takes. Since that night of despair, I have built some very successful businesses and earned more money than I have ever dreamed back when I was a corporate manager or a solar energy entrepreneur. I've also experienced more joy and fulfillment in the relationships than I knew possible. As I write these words, I am healthier, more energized, and more alive today than I was 10 years ago. I am happier today, have better relationships, and more satisfying professional life than I did 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, things were already going pretty well. In fact, my life today is better in every way than it was 10 years ago. And I expect to be saying the same thing 10 years from now. Of course, I could lose it all tomorrow. It happened before. I'd survive, but there is something I cannot lose, and that is the one thing I could start from scratch and build it all back up again and do it in record time. That one thing is the slight edge. One more thing, when I say millionaire, I'm not talking purely about money or financial success. I'm using a term here as label for success. But it's only a label, a metaphor. Just a beach bum is only a metaphor. When I say millionaire, I mean someone with $1 million smile, with 1 million friends, with $1 million worth, heck, $1 billion, $1 trillion worth of joy, love, content, fulfillment, great relationships, curiosity, fascination, passion, enthusiasm, excitement, accomplishment, and a fortune's worth of life. I want that life for you. Alright, we will come back and do the next chapter. But right now, we will talk about in just a minute.